This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Wacom sent me their brand new Wacom One. It's Wacom's most inexpensive pen display that keeps the price down by cutting out some of the high-end features. But have they cut out too much? Hello, my name is Brad and I review tech for creative professionals. We're talking about illustrators, designers, the occasional circus performer. The world of drawing tech has shifted quite a bit over the last several years. Wacom used to be king. If you wanted something that was good and reliable, here you go. You need to get a Wacom product. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen cheaper competitors improving quality and consistency, and we've seen the release of the iPad and Android tablets that also have pen support. Wacom kept pumping out premium high-end displays, but they really didn't pay much attention to the entry-level side of the market until last year when they released the Cintiq 16 and the Cintiq 22. They cut out some of those high-end features like the 4K displays and the touch screens to get the prices down, while also keeping that really well-known Wacom drawing feel. That brings us to this, the budget-priced Wacom One. So what is this thing? It is a pen display. It may look like a tablet, but there is no computer here. It needs to be plugged into a laptop or a desktop computer. It's basically an external monitor that you can draw on. Hold up. The Wacom One, is it new? Yeah, okay, this is a little confusing because there is another product out there called One by Wacom. I don't mind the One branding for their entry-level lines. In fact, I kind of like the idea, but the naming here, it's a bit confusing. If you're thinking about picking up this display, make sure you're getting the one with the screen, not the one without it. Hopefully in the future that gets cleared up. So let's go on to the specs. This is a 13.3 inch display. It has a full HD screen that's 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels and an NTSC 72% color gambit. The screen has a textured film on it, which gives it a little bit more grip when you're drawing, and the pen itself is a battery-free pen with 4,096 levels of pressure sensitivity. What doesn't it have? I mentioned a couple things that Wacom took out of this to get the price down, and those things are also worth mentioning here. This doesn't have a 4K display. It's only full HD. The screen is also not bonded or laminated, something you'll find on the Cintiq Pros. What that does is it reduces the amount of space between the screen and the glass above it. I'm going to talk more about this later when I get into the pen. There is also no touch screen here. It also has this pen, which has less pressure than the Pro pen. I don't think that's such a big deal, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit more in the pen section as well. Now on to what's in the box. Let's have an unboxing party. Inside, you'll find the display itself wrapped in this exquisite poly-blend wrap made from the finest tufts of Muppet skin. You will also find the pen wrapped in the same exquisite, it's taped up here. Some unboxings go smoother than others. The HDMI/USB/power cord. There's also a little loop at the top of the display that you can use to slide your pen into. And along the back are feet that let you set up the display at an angle. They've also tucked 3 replacement nibs back there underneath one of the feet. And with that, our unboxing party is over. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Hold on, don't leave. That was just a figure of speech. I have more to say. Like my favorite new feature, how it works on Android. We've seen other companies do something similar. XP Pen and Huion to be exact. They allow you to connect their slates to a phone and register it as a pen input. It was really simple stuff. It wasn't that complicated. But what's happening here is next level stuff, at least on Samsung devices that can use DeX. I made a whole video about this last week, walking through the Android features. So here is the 30-second version. The pen? It's really good. It's the same Wacom pen that many Android phones and tablets already use, which is probably why Wacom is doing this. The drivers are already there. And it's not perfect. I really wish the Wacom One had a touchscreen. And not every app works. The big one that I couldn't get to work was Autodesk Sketchbook. Everything else worked pretty well. You could force it to full screen using Samsung's DeX. I also didn't get the opportunity to test it on a Huawei tablet. Some of those are compatible with this. Maybe sometime in the future I can give that a roll. But all in all, I really hope this is something that garners more Android support in the future. I love the idea that you could use your phone as your primary art device that you can have with you at all times. Bring it home, plug it into something like this, and use it that way. After you're done creating that stunning new artwork with the Wacom One, you should show it off to the world. Today's sponsor, Squarespace, can help you do just that. From websites to online stores, marketing tools, and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to help you build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Building an audience and keeping those folks in the loop with the work that you're doing can be essential for landing more work. Squarespace email campaigns can help you do that, grow and engage your audience. Create powerful email content that matches your website, your existing products, your blog posts. That way your messaging is consistent and effective. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/BradColbo to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. All right, I'm ready. Let's talk about this pen. Wacom's pen comes in two flavors. There's their Pro pens that work on the Intuos and Cintiq devices, and then there's their mobile pens that work on some Android and Windows tablets. This is not the Pro pen. What's included here is their mobile pen. Now, this isn't a bad thing. Their mobile pens are actually really good. It is worth noting here that this is a step down. Not a huge step down, but a step down nonetheless. We get a step down in pressure from 8,000 levels to 4,000 levels. I think pressure sensitivity in a pen is overrated. 4,000 is plenty. I did notice some little differences here between this pen and the Pro pen, like it's a little blobby at the beginning of fast strokes. One cool upside here is this can use any Wacom compatible pen. For example, I can pull the pen out of my Galaxy Note and use it here. Works just fine. And if you don't like drawing with this particular pen, there's several aftermarket pens that you can choose from that might fit your hand better. The other thing worth noting here is how this is a non-laminated display. This can have an effect on the drawing quality, and this is something that some of the more inexpensive Wacom competitors out there actually have in their low-end drawing tablets. So like I mentioned before, lamination reduces the amount of space between the glass and the screen below it, and a laminated display is really nice to have. I think it looks so much better. It looks so much more modern. We're used to looking at cell phones where the display is right there. It's crisp, it's beautiful. And it used to be that this got way back on parallax, which is where the pen tip hits the screen and where the cursor appears below it. But I've found in recent years this isn't quite as much of an issue as it used to be. I used to spend hours fiddling with the settings, getting these things calibrated, but now, out of the box, this is calibrated really, really well, making this sort of screen much less of an issue, making parallax in general much less of an issue. So with those little details out of the way, let's get over to the pen test. Now that we're onto our pen test, the very first thing I like to check is just the pressure. How does it respond to it? Does it flow well? Does it feel natural? And overall, yes, this is exactly what I expect from any of Wacom's pens. The other thing that I like to do is I like to come in and do really fast hatch lines and see how they look. And one thing I noticed right away, and this is something that I've seen on Android tablets and things that I've tried with this sort of pen in the past, is just these little blobs when I'm moving quickly. As the pen hits down, it's not a smooth taper, it's a little bit of a blobby taper, and that's something that I have to just slow down a little bit on as I come in here. And that's something that you don't see on the Pro pen that you see here, and I'm even getting that a little bit as I slow it down a tiny bit. Now obviously that's something that also changes depending on the program and the brush you're using. This is a manga brush that I'm using in Photoshop, and usually that gives me a really crisp, clean line. The other thing I like to do is just see how it holds pressure, and it holds pressure really well. I'm making sure that it doesn't blow out at a certain point. I like to draw circles and see if I can maintain consistent pressure here and there. Overall, it's looking pretty good. I'm having a little bit of a hard time with lighter circles. It seems to, come on a little bit strong, but I wouldn't say it's bad at all. I still think it's performing pretty well. And then lastly, the thing that I'm always checking for, that's probably the most important thing that Wacom always does as well, are just slow angled line tests. They have to be slow because if they're fast, the lines tend to smooth out pretty quickly and you get really clean lines. But the slow angle lines are where you really start to see some of the wobble, and that's looking fantastic. Now, obviously, my hand has some natural wobble to it when I draw. That's where we're getting some of that wobble and jitter, so let me grab a ruler just to show how that looks. A lot of people say in these tests, hey, you can draw a straight line without needing a ruler. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. I'm really just testing for the jitter. I'm not trying to draw the straightest line in the world. But as you can see with a ruler, that is darn near perfect. That is a fantastic line, which is exactly what I'm expecting from these kind of Wacom devices. So pen test does really well. I think the Pro Pen 2 performs better for me, but I still think on the basics, the main things that I'm looking for, this pen still does perform very well. The pros and the cons. The pros are this is a very good drawing experience, and the tablet itself is very light. It's fairly portable. You still need a power outlet near you when you're using it, but it can easily fit in a bag. The cons, I think for me, it really comes down to the price. Yes, this is a budget display, but it's a budget display for Wacom, and you're getting that Wacom brand name, and that adds a little more money to the price of the device. A lot of people want that, and if you're one of those people, absolutely go for it. It's a great device. It's good to draw on, which is what you're getting it for. The problem comes in when you compare it to what, say, Huion or XP Pen have been doing over the last couple years. I reviewed XP Pen's Artist 13 Pro this fall. It's about $100 cheaper, and I like the screen better. The Huion 13 just came out. I got to draw on it at CES just 2 weeks ago. It's very good. I have one coming to me right now. Should have the review up in about 2 weeks or so. What I'm saying here is the competitors have caught up, and in some ways, they have some features available on their pro level displays for less money than Wacom has here. Both the XP Pen and Huion devices have shortcut keys, for example. That's something I personally really like and have learned to depend on. They both have bonded screens, which again is a nice feature, makes the tablet feel more premium. Even though I didn't find parallax to be a problem here, if you're used to looking at your phone screen all day or your computer screen, you're really going to notice that. It just doesn't feel as premium. We expect more from our modern devices. The other con I want to point out is this isn't USB-C/Thunderbolt. I think 2020 is the year I'm going to start to gripe about this a little more. I think we're past that tipping point where every new product, really at this point, it should have a USB-C connection to it. That should be the default. You can pack in the other cables for older devices if you want to. That's great. That's a wonderful bonus, but the default experience should be USB-C going forward. I would love to just have one cord connecting this thing to my laptop, drawing power from my laptop, and it would also make it more portable. I guess what I'm saying here is I was willing to live in Donkleville 3 or 4 years ago when USB-C connections were new, but now going forward, my next laptop, or probably your next laptop, is probably going to have a USB-C connection. And I'm assuming this new device that you're buying now is probably going to be something you're going to be using for 5 to 10 years in the future. Maybe 10 years is a little much, but you're going to be using it for a while, and you're going to be using it on new hardware. So yes, a year ago, I was willing to give this a pass, but now I think we really need to be looking forward to USB-C. So overall, I feel like every 13-inch pen display that is available on the market today is going to provide you with a really good drawing experience. I keep a list over on my website over what's the best, and I link to the reviews and all that sort of things. You can see that over on brad.site. I'll link it down below. And this list is getting harder and harder to curate because all of them are good, and it's just a matter of what features you want and what you're willing to sacrifice to get something else. But what you should know is no matter which one you choose at this point, I feel that drawing tech has gotten to the point where the core drawing experience, the main thing that you want out of a drawing tablet, you're going to get with pretty much anything you buy that's been released in the last year. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. And if you have any comments or questions, let me know down below, and I'll see you in a couple of days.